I chose that particular month. I figure if the general could try, I could too.
Right.
My nickname is Waterworks, by the way, because I'm very emotional about this stuff. And all across the nation, as we traveled to Arlington last year, the people that rode with me understand the passion that this thing can bring out. I don't know how we can explain it other than it's something that it should not be allowed to happen. We cannot have veterans that join the Army, that join the services, to go and fight, whether it was peacetime or wartime. They did that under the auspices that our government would take care of them and bury them. And they will. Our project always has the question brought up, why doesn't the VA do something about it? Well, until the VA knows about somebody, they can't do anything about it. And the secret and the problem is that they reside in state hospitals, they reside in funeral homes, and nobody takes the time to research somebody. Therefore, we have a problem. We have tried to attack it from the fact that how do we go about solving the problem for those that we can find and identify. But it goes further than that. If we don't get laws and stuff passed to stop it, what makes any difference? There will just be new people that are abandoned and left. And we'll talk a little bit about that shortly, about a California initiative that will be the first in the nation that will solve this problem totally, and hopefully will expand it to the nation. But aside from nationwide, what have we done here locally? First of all, when we started this program, they gave you a statement that this was the first time that a funeral home had worked with them. It was for Missouri. The first service and the first funeral home that he gave us the opportunity to actually verify that we had lots of veterans remaining unclaimed was Jim Allen of Allen and Dahl here in Reading. And he took the giant step, even amidst 3 days of bitter anguish, that the Record Searchlight was going to publish an expose that he had cremated remains that he had kept in the funeral home. It almost gave him a heart attack. He was sick. I had to get on the phone and threaten life and death to everybody that this wasn't a story that was an expose on what somebody did wrong. This is an expose on funeral homes that protected the cremains of people always waiting for a family to come and pick them up. But when you read a statement that says, we'll be by to pick him up, and it's dated 1974, I don't think it's going to happen. Here's going to be a short video on a service we've done in Reading.
Well, on this 4th of July, some veterans are on a serious mission. They're searching for the unclaimed remains of America's fallen heroes to make sure that they get the burials they deserve with full military honors. Fox's Dan Springer has this story.
One by one, the names of 26 deceased veterans were read, their service honored with a color guard and 3-gun salute. It may seem like a typical military service in this veteran cemetery in Redding, California, but these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines might never have gotten a proper burial. Their ashes were abandoned, left unclaimed in tin cans and boxes on funeral home shelves, sometimes for decades. Among them, Daryl and Phyllis Payne, who served in the Navy during World War II.
And Lord, I just ask for peace to the families.
Stepping into the breach is a group of mostly Vietnam veterans who are part of the Missing in America project, started 2 years ago by Fred Salanti.
It just gives us a way to express ourselves, to honor somebody else in a way that we weren't honored when we came back.
MIAP volunteer Donald Leedy brought his 10-year-old grandson along.
My grandfather fought in World War I. My dad fought in World War II. I was in the Vietnam War.
I have 3 uncles that have died in wars, and I want him to know what that's all about.
The Missing in America Project has combed through 500 of the 45,000 funeral homes in the nation, so their mission is really just beginning. But now they're looking for help from Congress, a law that says no one, veteran or not, can go languishing on a shelf in a vault for more than 5 years without at least some attempt at a proper burial. The group now has volunteers in 44 states going through vaults and asking to see paperwork. But some institutions, like the Oregon State Hospital, which has 3,600 unclaimed remains, say they can't release patient records to the public and don't have the staff to go through it themselves looking for veterans.
We would literally need to go through all the records that we had, and that's almost impossibility to do.
These men and women are finally receiving the thanks and respect they earned, but there are perhaps tens of thousands still out there. In Redding, California, Dan Springer, Fox News.
Thank you. I think that particular video brought up some of the problems that, of course, we run into. The biggest problem is there's no law in either any state or in the federal government that makes people or makes a funeral home responsible to look to verify if there's a veteran. And understand, when I say the term veteran, we are talking about a veteran, his spouse, or dependent child. Now, the magnitude of that research involves many things. It means when we go in and try to look at a record, if we're able to get into the funeral home, we look for things that say this guy was in the Army, an obituary, or military, or she was a Navy nurse. We take different things if we don't have Social Security numbers. And remember, in this country, we have over 50 million veterans that have served since the Civil War. Of those 50 million veterans, 26 are on databases. The other 26 million are records at the bottom of the National Personnel Record Center in St. Louis, which means that if we go in with somebody's name and he doesn't happen or she doesn't happen to be on the record, it physically takes somebody to go downstairs in a basement and dig up that information to verify if they're a veteran. We have ladies that work at home and into that are genealogists. We access into the Mormon database, Ancestry.com, old DOD records, any place that we can to try to identify people. You can understand that this is probably a bigger task than even I thought when we started this. But to date, we've buried over 900 veterans. We have over we have about 950 identified, and as of a couple days ago, we have 5 Civil War veterans we've got verified, and 9 World War I veterans yet in Missouri again to bury.